I had the privilege of sitting down with Mr. Brandon Soufer, an incredible real estate agent here in the West Los Angeles area. Now, Brandon is just wrapping up his first year with his real estate career, and I wanted to get his thoughts on how he became so successful so quickly. Listen, he shared his thoughts on how he got started, how important his support team is, and last but not least, he shared with us how his current structure is when it comes to his daily routines in his real estate field. Listen, you don't want to miss this one. Hey Brandon, so glad you're here. Listen, I hear you are one of the top agents in your brokerage. Very excited. I'm proud of you, man. You've done good.
Thank you.
Let me start off by asking you one simple question. As a millennial, man, what are you, 22 years old? What motivated you to get into this business, into this real estate business? We know it's challenging. We know it can be competitive. Why real estate?
Great question, Robert. So, believe it or not, yes, I am 22. I did start in the real estate industry when I was only 21. Prior to real estate, I was a finance director for Lexus for multiple years, Hyundai and Lexus, where I led Santa Barbara County in most cars sold in 1 month. 30 cars in 2 weeks is my record. So that kind of paved my way into real estate. I always knew that the car business always had a ceiling for me. You can't really thrive to your full potential because it takes many years to get to where you want to be and many people to surpass and overcome, and you're always working for someone at the end of the day. I knew that with my potential, I wanted to succeed in something where I'm continuing the whole self-paced, self-motivating business, but also be in charge of my own will, my own destiny, my own fate. So believe it or not, when COVID happened back in March of 2020, my dealership shut down. Everything I had built, and I was basically running a whole dealership on my own. Of course, with the help of my superiors, but I was one of the top positions in the dealership. I had people who were delivering cars all over the city for me, down to San Diego, down to Palm Springs, you name it, down to the border of Mexico even. And all of that went basically away. So it was the perfect time for me to come to realization that my exit was then, and that was the time for me to change my career path like I always told myself I wanted to be. I think COVID brought a lot of good and bad for many different people, but I'm very blessed about what happened, because if it wasn't for COVID, I would have never changed my career path and be where I am today.
Now, you were doing all of that, Brandon, as a young man. I mean, you were very, very young.
Yeah.
We're talking late teens.
Yeah.
Right? You said a good word. You said a very crucial word that I picked up on. You said the word potential. You said that you knew your potential. How the hell did you know your potential? Most of the time, a second party will say, hey, you got potential. We hear from somebody else. But you inside said, I got potential. Tell me about your potential. How did you know you had potential?
Great question. So that's a very good question. I realized my potential because I'm very humbled in a sense that I know where I came from, and that's something I'll never forget about. And I always drove myself to want to be the best. I did have many challenges to overcome along the way, starting even from when I was in high school.
Can we discuss those challenges?
Absolutely.
What do you got?
Well, I did come from I'm very blessed for what I've had in my life and where I come from. But growing up around people who are billionaires, millionaires that I went to school with, I always felt like I was at a disadvantage compared to other people. But I channeled that feeling of feeling lesser than other people to want to succeed and push myself and drive myself to surpass what other people my age were given to them. And don't get me wrong, I come from an amazing family where I'm very grateful for everything I was given, but I was always driven to be better than everything and overcome all my obstacles that I faced. That's one thing. Second of all, I did battle depression when I was in high school, where I kind of was at a very low point in my life. And I kind of felt like all the odds in the world were against me, and I didn't really have much of a self-esteem to want to do anything great in the world. So I did take some time off school in high school. I did have many challenges to face, but with the help of friends and family, I really was able to overcome that, and that is part of who I am today. Also, even in the car automotive industry, I started from scratch. I started as a salesperson who had to stand in the sun all day long at the age of 17, 18, fresh out of high school. I was standing on the lot in the hot sun in Van Nuys, where, it can get really hot.
I used to live in Van Nuys. It gets hot in hell.
Yeah. So I started my sales experience from complete scratch. So as a car person on the lot, where I was chasing clients and doing everything I can to keep the client there and make sure that we end up closing some sort of deal, I really learned the foundation of sales doing that, where other salesmen were saying, this business isn't for you. This business, you're not meant to be in the car business. It's not for everybody. You're better off doing something else. Go get lost. And many other things that are much worse than that. So that also really put everything into perspective for me as to, okay, so people are trying to bring me down. And that's something that I dealt with a lot of my life. People putting negative energy on me as opposed to bringing me up as a person. So that also really humbled me to know my full potential, because against all odds is how I succeed best. Where people doubt me, where people don't have my back. Now, don't get me wrong, my friends and family, my girlfriend, Diane, and we'll get there, have all been my biggest supporters. But even all through my life, all my work experience before real estate, I always had odds stacked up against me. Even down to the wire before COVID happened. I had salespeople who weren't used to a driving force and a young guy like me in my dealership coming into my office, messing up my office, throwing all my papers around, moving things around in my office to mess with me, to get in my head, because it's not a good feeling when a young guy comes in and kind of sets a chain reaction to change things.
Right. Let me stop you there, Brandon. This is good stuff. Prior to real estate, car salesman in that field, skill set. We could teach skill set. I know this because I used to be an educator. We could teach skill set. We could teach techniques. We could teach individuals a lot of things. But one thing we can't teach, in my opinion, is drive. And something about you down deep, there's a drive. At 22 years old today, you have that drive. At 18 years old, back when you were with this car dealership, you had that drive. Those who are watching today, who are young, what can you share with them to allow that drive to come out?
I like these questions.
What's down deep in you, man, that says, I'm gonna pull this off?
Drive is something that you're born with.
You think so?
Yes.
All right.
I think it's something you're born with, but over time, you have the choice of how you want to use that drive. So there's some people that that drive is there and it's very present in an individual, but they choose not to use it. And I think that what's enabled me to have the drive and really bring out the drive is my biggest role model, who's my dad, and seeing him work so hard and constantly going above and beyond for my mom, my sister, my family, to provide and do as much as he could, really sparked that in me to be a hardworking individual and be a hustler. And that's what really brought that drive out of me. So the one thing that I'll say to people who want to spark that drive and really bring it out of them is, if you feel that drive, if you feel that motivation and you feel it within you, don't let it go to waste, because it's a shame to not use that potential. Because I think everybody and anybody who wants to succeed and who wants to reach their full potential, it's in their own hands to really spark it and bring it out of them.
All right.
So do what you can to really ignite that fire, because it's up to them. It's up to you.
Let's transition that. Let's take that drive. In fact, you know what? This is funny. Let's take that drive over the bridge from you doing car sales. Let's drive it over the bridge. That drive into the real estate field. So now you're bringing this drive. This I gotta conquer the world. You know, I wasn't given the same opportunities. Sounds like that's what you said earlier. You know, your challenges with depression. You're bringing all that. You challenged it. You defeated it, and now you're bringing it into this whole new world of real estate that you've never done before. How did you launch that? How did you launch your real estate career, man?
Great question. I like the transition.
I have a good question. What I want to do is I want to get in your head, because you know what? Seriously, I've always wanted to get a young person who's professional, who's polished, who's driven in front of me and ask them questions so you can share your attitude, your skill set,
Absolutely.
where you're going with your life.
Absolutely.
You know, so these questions are designed to enlighten the public, man, the young population watching, and those who are in the slump who aren't so young, people my age who are like, how can I get that drive back? And I'm hoping that Brandon Soufer, the man right in front of me, is going to give him some kind of ignite.
Sure.
So back to the question. So how did you launch your real estate career?
Great question. So once COVID happened, as I mentioned, basically, and side note, I was working at the dealership at Lexus 70 hours a week, while a full 25 unit course load at UC Santa Barbara. So I was actually full-time finance director, full-time university student. So when COVID happened, my dealership shut down. So I ended up moving back home to LA from Santa Barbara. So out of a job, school is remote. And that's when I really thought to myself, you know what? I should start practicing for the real estate exam, start taking the courses. And I started all 3 courses online, and that's while doing school. And I got discouraged at one point because I said to myself, you know what? There's so many real estate agents out there. I know we have more agents in Los Angeles than there are homes for sale. And that's just the reality of it. And I think people watch TV and people watch $1 Million Listing and Selling Sunset and all these shows, and it really fires them up that, oh, I want to be a real estate agent. Like it's whining and dining and meeting with clients, and right away they're gonna say, oh, I want to list my house with you. You have a deal. But it's so much more than that. And that's what kind of discouraged me at one point, that like there's so many agents. I was good at what I did, which was selling cars. Now, very similar skill set to real estate, but I was very discouraged that I've invested so many years of my youth in the car industry, and that's all I know. That's what I know. Should I go back to a dealership? Should I go work at another dealership? And I'm very grateful to have made so many great friends and colleagues and peers and role models through my time at the car business. But I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. I should just stick to what I've known always. And that's what discouraged me. But then I channeled that negativity and that kind of that feeling of being down. You know what? The world is shut down. Everything is shut down. Nobody's really going out. Screw it. Let's give it a chance. Because it'd be something that I would regret forever if I didn't attempt at doing it. So I started the real estate courses, and that's when I started firing it up, knocking out all the courses, and just having this fire, that ignition that I had lost throughout the pandemic, the beginning part of the pandemic, where I was kind of just feeling really bleh. The fire was coming back.
What was the attraction to real estate for you?
You know,
During this whole...
Yeah, the attraction was, you know, I'm home, everybody's home. It's a level playing field right now.
I like that.
And yes, I'm one of those people that tries to pound things out all at once, like, oh, we need to start this, we need to start that, let's start a social media, let's start a website, let's start marketing right away. But I needed to slow down and kind of realize I don't have my license yet. So I kind of stayed in my lane and kind of stayed focused on one thing, which was just getting my license.
You were focused.
Yes. So that focus was really there. And that's when I finally, once I was nearing the end of the course, I started looking into places to work where I want to hang my license with once I have my license. And I also needed to really stay focused and finish the course. And I finished the course. Now, we all know with COVID, everything was delayed. Everything was slowed down. So I sent my license in to the DRE with the combo application and everything around beginning of August of 2020. And by the time they responded back to me and by the time I got approved, it was end of November. So 2.5 months of just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, in the meantime, while you're waiting, what are you doing? You're studying, I'm assuming, for the state.
Yeah, so studying for the exam, every day taking 2 practice tests. I do have photographic memory, so just memorizing, ingraining things into my head, because that's how I study best. Not flashcards, not audio, video. It was just reading the same thing over and over again.
And that Brian Soufer drive that you said you're born with was focused on getting this done.
Correct.
You had help from some other people help you study?
Correct. So my biggest support in the real estate world has been Diane, who is my coach and my mentor in real estate.
And she's out of the Keller Williams Brentwood office?
Correct.
In West Los Angeles?
Correct.
Diane Brito, Brito.
Yes.
Got it.
And she is one of California Realty's instructors as well.
Right.
And it's funny how Diane and I met one another. In the time being between getting my license and waiting for my application to go through, I reached out to a few friends to see, do they recommend anybody to hang my license with? Is there anybody they would suggest? And a friend of mine recommended an agent out of an office in Westlake. So I was really intrigued by his sales and what he's done and his volume, and he kind of had a team format set up. So you market, he does your marketing and he handles all aspects of your sales, and kind of it was very appealing, especially to someone like me who kind of needed help in real estate to kind of launch and get started. A team sounded very good to me. It sounded very, how do I say it, very attractive, because I was like, okay, so there's kind of similar to car sales, kind of someone to get you jump started and going. And I met with that individual, that agent out of Westlake, and things were progressing well. He actually wanted me to work from this office, Keller Williams Brentwood, as an expansion agent. So one day he actually brought me into this office and I met Diane. I would be onboarded with this office, but I would still be an agent for his team out of Westlake. So things progressed. I started going with him to listing appointments and inspections and basically anywhere he went as a shadow, and things were going great until it came down to negotiation of my split with his team. I learned that, I know my worth. I know that what I'm capable of.
Right, but Brandon knows his worth.
Correct.
So the lesson here is you got to know your worth.
Of course.
Know you're worth something.
Of course.
And now you're in a beautiful situation with Diane.
Correct. So we actually, because I no longer was gonna join his team, I still ended up hanging my license here. So I actually ended up with Diane because of that, which is, I think, God's gift and God's miracle to me, because Diane helped me train and practice for my exam and really helped me with the foundation of all the knowledge that I needed to pass my exam. Funny thing, and funny enough, the exam I took, which was December 4th, 2020, was the last exam the DRE offered in all of California before they shut down again. So I actually had to travel to Oakland with one of my very close friends who was also going to take his exam, and passed with flying colors.
So it goes back to that drive that you discussed. There's no doubt you have drive, Brandon. I mean, you just have it. It's like you said, it's probably part of your DNA. You got your license. You're excited. You're in a good spot. You got a team behind you. Here's a question I want to ask you: how does somebody who's driven like yourself, who's just got their license, what's the first step? You're at home as far as your real estate family is concerned. You're holding your license. You got the drive. Now what? Talk to me. How did you start off? The word launch, how did you launch, like, boom, time for me to take off?
Good question. So, again, I am a big multitasker. So, the day I got my license, I was like, okay, like, I need a Instagram account for my business. I need business cards. I need to design X, Y, and Z. I need to get my outfits together because I want to start going places, and kind of freaking out. And because I was afraid of a new start. I was afraid of starting somewhere new where I kind of was, as they called in the car industry, a green pea. So very fresh, not knowing much, ready to absorb information and learn, which I'm always learning and I'm always growing and expanding my knowledge and the capacity of my learning. But I really was kind of freaking out as to where do I start? What do I do first? So thanks to Diane and my family, my friends, my girlfriend, I really had the support of people who knew me before my real estate life began, who knew what I've accomplished in the car industry, what I've accomplished and overcome as an individual all through my life. So I really had to take a step back, and with Diane's help and her support, I kind of conquered one thing at a time. Started off with business cards, started off with social media, started off with all the basics to kind of get the ball rolling, letting my own sphere of influence know that I've made the switch.
Give me the top 3 things, because you just mentioned a few, that somebody should do the minute they get their license. You mentioned social media. That's important.
Correct.
Give me a few others.
Social media, having a brokerage you want to join already ready to go, and
Business cards, you said?
yeah, business cards, but I think more important than business cards, let the people around you know that you're now in this business.
What we call that sphere of influence.
Exactly.
Right.
So those are the top 3 things I'd suggest that are most important.
Social media. What's the second one again?
Social media, having a brokerage.
Having a brokerage, good. Having a real estate family supporting you, and sphere of influence.
Correct.
Beautiful.
And one thing kind of it was a snowball effect. One thing led to another, and I've never been happier with a brokerage that I'm a part of because of the learning, the training, the support, the team I have around me, and everybody who has been with me from the start. It's kind of been a blessing. So one thing led to a next. After 2 weeks of having my license, I opened my first escrow.
That was my next question. How soon after getting your license?
Yeah.
So it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It's not typical, but it might be for somebody who's driven. I don't know. Who was it?
So it was my girlfriend's family.
Sphere of influence.
Yes.
Which is what I encourage my students all the time. Just like you said, tell the whole world that you know.
Exactly.
All right, talk to me.
So my girlfriend's family ended up buying a condo in Beverly Grove, which, they really took a chance with me and really kind of supported me and kind of gave me the opportunity to do my first transaction.
Why they give you an opportunity? Why they take a chance on you?
Great question. Besides, dating their daughter.
But they know you.
Yeah, they know me, they trust me, and I think in any sales industry, you have to trust the person that is representing you, because in car sales too, you want to trust the person that is your salesperson and who's helping you with an investment like a car. But when we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, you really need to trust who has your best interest at heart. And I think my girlfriend's family really believed in me and had known me long enough to give me that opportunity, which I'm very grateful and eternally thankful for, because I think that's what kind of got the ball rolling. So
how'd you feel after you closed that deal? Now I want you to think seriously. The day they called you, the day the escrow office called you and said, we have confirmation of recording, this is a done deal. Brandon, what's the first thing that came to your mind, to your soul, to your whole body?
Well, even before they called about it being recorded and funded, the deal was in the peak of the real estate market during COVID. So we're talking going into multiples, bidding against one another, bidding war, over asking price, over list. So we're talking heap of the moment, competing against other people. We had seen many properties together, but the day this property hit the market, I got a notification and we went and saw it right away, same day. And they really fell in love with it. I really loved it for them too. And I really advised them that if you guys are really serious about it, then we should really pull the trigger and place an offer. So the day the property hit the market, which was a Friday, I'll never forget it. The day it hit the market, we went and saw it. That same day we put an offer in. 2-3 days down the road, 7-8 offers are in from other parties and taking longer than usual, waiting and waiting and waiting, and my girlfriend's family is nervous and I'm nervous because it's my first deal and it was for $876,000. So I mean, it's a pretty high volume for your first deal.
Sure is.
Sub-million, but pretty close to it. And I was nervous, they're nervous. I wasn't experienced enough to really calm them down because I'm not calm. And believe it or not, that's when people start to think we probably didn't get the property, probably someone else. I mean, we're talking competing against 7-8 other people, and you kind of don't know what other people have offered, what their terms are. So you just kind of have to give it your best shot. So with Diane's help, with Diane's guidance, we gave it our best shot. Believe it or not, it took longer than usual because they ended up picking another offer instead of ours. But I didn't know that, they didn't know that. So we were kind of in the dark for a few days until I got a phone call the Friday night after when I was with my family from the listing agent. And she said, so good news and bad news. I said, well, give me the bad news first. And she said, well, we did pick another offer, but when we told them that we picked their offer, congratulations, we've accepted your offer, they said, we need to think about it. So they weren't excited about it. They weren't excited for the property. And I think the seller really wanted to pass along the property, which she had put a lot of work into, to someone who is really excited about the unit. So that's when she asked me and my clients, she said, if you guys like, we want to accept your offer. Are you excited? Do you want the property? And that's when I called them and told them. They were beyond ecstatic, beyond happy, beyond grateful. And I was really happy because it was my first deal and nobody better to open a transaction with than people that are dear and close to my heart. Right. So we opened escrow, and that was my first learning lesson.
So you lit the torch, man, to your career.
Oh yeah.
The torch has been lit.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Now you're feeling good. Your family's feeling good. Your girlfriend's probably loving the heck out of you. You guys are feeling fantastic. Well, then what? I mean, how do you... let's just talk about that whole first year. Because at that stage, you're only 21 years old. Mm-hmm. Right? You're just a very young adult. How's your whole first year been? Your whole first year?
So I think that deal kind of put a snowball effect into place because I started lead generation very early. I think the week after I opened escrow or closed escrow on that deal, I started paying for lead generation. So I think one of my biggest, not advocates, but biggest tools that have made me so successful in my first year was lead generation with Zillow. And I've heard people have mixed reviews about Zillow Premier Agent. It doesn't work for them. Some people it works for, but I kind of really found my niche as to the areas and how to strategically invest your money in certain zip codes that it makes most sense and you get the most bang for your buck. So that kind of put a snowball into effect because my next deal closed the month after that, and one after another, it just kind of kept going on and on. And my second deal was a Zillow lead. which was also close to $1 million. And my next deal was a Zillow lead, which then stemmed out to 2 other referrals from that one Zillow lead. So already in a short period of time, I have referrals, repeat customers, and it's just been a snowball effect ever since.
Let's put this into perspective, this snowball effect. You're getting referrals. You've only had your license for how long?
Less than a year.
11 months. Let's get this clear. 11 months you've had your license, less than a year, and you already have a snowball effect. You've already got referrals, which is unheard of in the real estate business. How many deals have you closed for this?
So my 6th deal is 6th or 7th. I think 7th deal is now in escrow, totaling for around over $5 million in sales in 11 months, which I mean is
incredible. Yeah,
it's an unheard
people
of.
watching this video do the math on $5 million plus on sales. It's a lot of money for anybody, but particularly for a young lad like yourself. Congratulations, man. So you had all the success. You're feeling good. Everything's rocking and rolling. Where do you find the discipline? Where do you find the discipline to do this over and over? All your skill set, the lead generating, I'm assuming you cold call. I don't know. These are all your business decisions. Talk to me about that. How do you get up in the morning and say, damn it, I gotta go do this, I gotta do this? How do you not get lazy, man, at 22 years old?
Good question.
You play video games?
I used to. I don't have the time for it anymore.
Good. So let's talk about this. The reason I'm bringing it up is because you're on a mission, and you sound like you took all the fat off of the steak, and you want to take care of some business. How do you stay disciplined?
Good question. So first of all, I don't cold call.
All right.
Which is pretty surprising because I think most people start off with just cold calling and calling people and trying to get business that way. But I mean, it's something I probably made a handful of calls, which it just didn't do anything for me.
Let's stop there for a second. This is a good point. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. I've been in the business almost 30 years, and I've cold called maybe once. So I'm with you. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not effective for other people.
Everybody has their thing.
So for Brandon, Soufer doesn't work.
No.
So what do?
So it's in between deals in the beginning, I kind of was feeling not discouraged, but kind of like, okay, like now what? Because I'm coming from a sales world where I'm selling 4 or 5 cars a day and constantly running around 12 hours a day, putting this deal into finance, putting that deal into finance, arranging this transport, arranging this dealer trade between dealerships. So I'm coming from an industry where it's much more fast-paced. So someone who has been in that kind of world, I was kind of like, okay, like, I mean, great, this deal's in escrow, but what do I do for 30 days? What do I do for 21 days? And that's when I kind of started to find what works for me. So besides the lead generation through Zillow and other avenues of lead generation that are paid for, I have made it my mission to kind of make social media my biggest advocate and my biggest tool. So I put a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money into my branding and my social media because that's the future. That's where all business, a lot of business is being done right now. I mean, you see people are investing in virtual real estate and virtual NFTs, which are like PDFs of images where you just keep. I mean, the world has transitioned into a digital universe where I'm not so far-fetched into jumping into buying virtual real estate because I'm more about tangible assets. But all these things have to do with social media and branding and marketing, because the millennials, the present is now all in social media and marketing. So I put a lot of time into getting my name out of there, promoting on social media, filming TikToks and videos, and
No, I don't know what any of this means.
But
let's go for it. It's effective.
And it's effective, and people like to see it, because it's one thing if you just post infographics of the average home median price is so and so, and the average market rate right now in real estate is 3 point whatever. That's all one thing. But if you actually get in front of a camera and film yourself being fun and showing who you are as an individual, people like that.
Well, share with us, where can they find your Instagram or TikTok, whatever?
So you can find me on social media at brandonsoufer.realestate, which also is my handle on TikTok. But anything that's on TikTok is on Instagram as well. So follow me at brandonsoufer.realestate. And I'm all about having fun. I always told myself, if I'm gonna do a business for the rest of my life, I want to enjoy it. I want to be happy doing it. And I don't want to have to be somebody who I'm not, which is something you have to do when you work under someone or work for somebody. I love that I can work on my own pace and be who I am, because like I told you in the beginning, what was discouraging to me is that there's agents that are selling $1 billion a year and are household names and are famous and are kind of renowned real estate agents. And there's more agents than there are homes for sale. But that's what comes down to you making yourself unique and what separates you from other people, which is me just having fun with what I do.
Listen, I got a couple of rapid questions. Rapid fire, I call it.
Go for it.
I want one sentence answers though. Your answer's gonna be one sentence.
Okay.
All right. No, before that though, let me remind those who are watching that you are on your way to be Rookie of the Year of the West LA area, which is incredible for somebody who's so as young as you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year. That means you've done substantially well, not just in your age group, but in general. You know, from the population of realtors out there. Rapid fire. Number one. How do you not get lazy? One. No, seriously, how do you not get lazy?
Kind of keeping a routine every day. Every day is different from one another, but as long as I get my coffee every morning, I work out, and I kind of tend to all the real estate matters in that day, I just keep going and not get lazy.
Rapid fire, here it goes. Next one. Why do people like you? Why should they work with you?
Good question.
Make it quick. Rapid, man.
You're asking such deep questions.
Yeah,
I love it.
I don't like sugarcoat. I want...
No, very boom. I'm personable, I'm kind, and there's a lot of agents who their most important thing and their biggest priority is getting the deal closed so they can collect a paycheck. For me, I put my clients and my customers first, because I get pride and joy out of seeing other people's dreams come true and seeing their kind of smiles on their faces. That's the biggest rewarding feeling for me.
That's a great way to end this interview. Listen, just for those who are watching, as a reminder, what you just said has been my and my wife's motto for our entire real estate career, which goes back 30 years. Our motto was real people before real estate. And I think that's what you're trying to tell me. Stay away from my motto as far as using it for your promotion.
It's all you, Robert.
But it's real people before real estate, meaning it's all about your client and your paycheck comes secondary, right? Where can people find you as far as TikTok? Forget about TikTok and stuff. Where can they find you if somebody wants to work with you? if they want more information on their real estate career, how to get started. Can you give us your phone number, your contact information?
Absolutely.
What do you got?
My phone number is 310-880-4842. You can find me and message me on Instagram at brandonsoufer.realestate, or you can submit an inquiry on my website at brandonsoufer.com.
Brandon, wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
Keep it strong.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck.